and thank you for joining today. We're going to be talking about Slovakian food, and joining us is Martina, who is based in Slovakia, and her Instagram handle, if you'd like to follow her, to ask questions and tag her. Her Instagram handle is Food Delicious with Tinka, and she is.
Hello,
Hello, how are you today, Martina?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining today. I was just introducing you, saying you're based in Slovakia, and so let's dive right in. Also, for anyone joining in and watching, we have a cool connection that we went to the same high school because Martina did an exchange program at the high school, a small town in rural Pennsylvania, and so neat to reconnect here. And thank you so much again for joining.
Yes, thank you for
So,
inviting me. It was such a coincidence because I found your profile on Facebook and then I found you on Instagram, and yeah, here we are.
it's awesome, and your food content is amazing. So anyone joining in, watching now or later, I encourage you to follow Martina. She posts delicious images of food and recipes. And so let's talk today about Slovakian food. So setting the stage, kind of, Slovakia is a landlocked country in Europe, and tell us about what is the what makes the country unique. Currently, I'm sure there is some unrest that you're experiencing with everything going on, being so close to the Ukraine. So tell us a little bit about your country first, for those who might not be familiar.
Okay, so what I think is really unique is that we have so many other countries around us, really close by, and you can experience all these different cultures anytime. I mean, almost you decide to go to Czech Republic and you are there in less than 1 hour. You go to Austria in 5 minutes, actually, from my house. So it's really nice, and I think all these cultures also influence us here. So yeah, it's really pleasant, I would say.
That's neat. And do you see those other countries, the influences in terms of food?
Very much, yeah. So I mean, especially here in Bratislava, in the capital, when you think of older people, they all used to speak German because of Austria on the border, and also Hungary because of this Austrian-Hungarian empire in the past. So they all had to speak Austrian, Austrian, German, Hungarian, and Slovak. And also this somehow came into food as well. So I mean, if you speak about Slovak food, it's mostly combination of all these around.
Wow. And so, have you always lived in the capital city?
No, actually, I'm like 50 kilometers from capital city
Okay.
originated, so yeah, not far away.
Okay.
But it's not so different. If you go a little bit east, the
Mhm.
culture is a little bit different. Also, the food, also the traditions. Yeah.
Okay. And what are those differences, if you had to summarize them?
Well, is also the language a little bit,
Mhm.
especially, I mean, we all speak Slovak, but there is a different um, dialect, I would say. Is that the correct word?
Mhm.
Or yeah. And but I think that's the similar in the US. You have different
Yeah.
accents in the South, and so. And also related to food, I would say in the West, it's more international because of all these countries around, and in the East, it's more than traditional. So you would say they eat maybe more traditional Slovak food. So
Okay.
there is an which we say is our one dish that you could go to Slovakia and say, okay, this is the national Slovakian dish. It's actually potato dumplings, really small ones, with sheep cheese.
Hmm.
It's like a really creamy cheese and bacon on top. And this is something when you go to Bratislava, so to the capital city, is not very typical. But if you go to the east or to the middle part of Slovakia, that's something you would get there, and it's much better there.
Okay. And is that something you find more of eating out, or people make it at home as well?
I think both. Yeah.
Okay.
But eating out is a little bit special because usually you go to these places where they actually have their own sheep and they make their own cheese. So it has more, it's more interesting, I would say,
Yeah,
different. And
fresh.
yeah,
Really.
also when you buy this sheep cheese, if you buy it in a shop, usually it's combined with the cow milk,
Mm.
so it's not so uh, intense. And when you go
Mhm.
to these special places, it's very intense.
Okay.
But
And
also it can be a little bit dangerous because they don't go through this process of, I'm not sure what the English word is here.
pasteurized?
Yes, pasteurized. So I mean, you can get also in some trouble.
Mm. I see. So,
Okay.
so if that's like a recognized dish, Martina, tell us about what have you kind of learned in your, you know, growing up and being raised in Slovakia? Are some other dishes that stand out as unique?
Mhm. So I mean, the whole Slovakian cuisine is very based on meat. So
Mm.
you would have meat almost all the time. Pork, a lot of pork we eat, and we eat also a lot of like things made out of dough. So really like bread-based things with which are really heavy. And I always thought, okay, this all these meals are so unhealthy, and we have actually a lot of issues with heart. Yeah,
Uh,
a lot of these issues in Slovakia, and yeah. But like if I can say so, what's very typical is this schnitzel. Yeah, so like a
mm.
pork breaded, deep fried, and then you have like potatoes with that or something. Or if you know Hungarian goulash, like this beef stew or sauerkraut dishes, something like this.
Okay.
Mhm.
And are those things that you kind of grew up eating around the table with your family?
Yes. Uh-huh. And then what we do is a lot of like meat stew with rice on the side, or meat stew with potatoes on the side. So some of these things are maybe also very similar to what I experienced in the US.
Mm.
And now we are also blending a lot of new dishes in. So like we would also eat spaghetti at home sometimes,
Okay.
or I mean it would not only be meat or something like this, but uh, most of the times. Especially for my father, it was always like, when there is no meat, what, is this even a meal?
So there's probably not many vegetarians in Slovakia.
Oh, I think it's growing now.
Okay.
It's more and more
And
popular.
is it common to find meat substitutes then in the grocery store as that's becoming more popular?
Yeah, yeah. You can also get a Beyond Burger here.
Oh, so Martina, you mentioned being in the States, and when I introduced, you know, we talked about how you were a foreign exchange student at my high school as well. And so talk to me, what was that when you came to the United States for the very first time? Maybe it was prior to coming for the education part. What was your first impression of the United States, whether it's pertaining to food or more in general?
um, I don't know. uh, can you repeat that question, please? Because
Yeah.
I think I got lost. Sorry.
Okay. So when you came to the United States for the very first time, what what stuck with you? What surprised you?
Oh, a lot of things. A lot of things. Because I thought I could speak English when I came to the US,
Mm.
and then when people started speaking at me, I didn't understand anything. It was so fast,
Well,
and I was surprised seeing people coming in pajamas to to school in the morning. This was really
probably
surprising.
wasn't the rules, but they got away with it.
Yes. No, but related to food, I started loving the food from the beginning, because here it was like I always saw something on TV, in a movie,
Mm.
or you know, and then I came to my family, and then I started recognizing these things. But to be honest, my host family, they were very, they tried to stay healthy. So we didn't go to any fast food places or anything like this. So I didn't experience many of those, for example.
Okay. And
Yeah.
I think that's better. You know, to get kind of the home cooking, and if you eat out, eating at something that's, you know, a bit nicer than the McDonald's or something like that.
Yes. And what I also found a little bit funny was that my host father would say, I make the best pizza. And then when I was thinking, okay, so you start from the beginning. You bring the flour, you bring everything you need, then you wait for the dough. But he just brought the pizza dough already done from the fridge, put some tomatoes on it and some already shredded cheese. And it was very funny for me because yeah, I was used to, then my mother would make everything like from the stretch. You say scratch?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
So then did you make pizza again and make it with the flour and everything, mozzarella?
Yes.
So Martina, let's talk about, you know, your childhood, and when did you get into cooking in your home? Was it, you know, mainly influenced by your mom, like you had mentioned? Tell me about that.
Yes. So I liked cooking from when I was small. So I always helped my mother with something like cutting the vegetables or very easy things. And then I actually started high school, and in Slovakia you can choose this general high school like you have in the US, or you go for already some specialization. Yeah. And I decided to go to it was called Hotel Academy.
Oh, wow.
So where we apart from many general subjects, we also learned how to cook, how to do the serving. So like if you would do a waiter in a hotel, like hotel management, all these things. And we cooked a lot there. So we had like just on Monday, it was the whole day only cooking at school.
Right.
From the morning to the afternoon. So it was really, really good. And there I learned a lot of the main things like how you make this sauce, how you make this sauce, how you make Hollandaise sauce. So we only had one day really doing sauces. Then we had another day doing I don't know, bread or something like this. So really I could learn these basic things. And then I started cooking for myself a little bit. And that's how I'm here.
That's great. And like I said earlier, all your food and recipes look amazing. The photography as well. So I just love following along and knowing, you know, the connection that we had there. So as we kind of dive in specifically to Slovakia, I want to kind of go about the day. We mentioned the potato dumpling with the sheep's cheese dish. But starting with breakfast, what is typical, or what's something you're most used to eating for breakfast in Slovakia?
Okay, so this would be something like bread, butter, ham, cheese, eggs. Yeah. And for lunch, then we would go for a hot meal, so like a warm dish.
Okay.
So really, like it's the main dish, the lunch. And then in the evening, we would again go with something like bread.
Okay.
So it's a little bit different. I know in the US you get together as a family in the evening and have a cooked meal. We don't do that usually. It's not very common.
Okay. And is that, if lunch is the main meal, do people leave work for lunch and then come back?
No, usually you have a canteen at work, but you have really like a big lunch. So it's really you get the soup and a side dish. So like you get the meat with rice or something like this. And there are some families that would also have this for dinner. But as long as I know, most of them don't. You would make an egg sandwich for dinner or something like this. You go together like a family, but it's not like you spend the whole evening cooking and then sitting together.
But what about the weekend? Does that change on the weekend?
No.
Okay.
So like Sunday lunch is the biggest thing, I would say. Yeah, that's when the family meets together for Sunday lunch, and then you can have like a really nice feast.
Yeah, yeah. And so where does and how does dessert work into the day?
Oh, that would be after lunch.
And so let's dive into desserts. What is popular in Slovakia, and what's also classic in terms of
Mhm.
Slovakian desserts?
Whew.
Or what's your favorite dessert?
So, what's my favorite dessert? I actually cannot answer this one. I think ice cream. Ice
Mm.
cream. Yeah, but it's not very typical. That's only in summer. So, like, I know also this in the US, you would eat ice cream all year long, and we only do that in summer. It's very hard to find ice cream in winter.
Mm.
And very typical would be any kind of season that comes. So in summer, if you have some fresh fruit like apricots or strawberries, then you will make some flour-based cake with that. Yeah, or yeah, something like that. Or chocolate cake. I think in case of desserts, it's very similar all around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, do you prefer cooking over baking?
Yes. Actually, my sister, so she has her own place for baking cakes.
Oh, wow. Is that nearby where you live?
It's in my hometown.
Oh, awesome. Very
Yeah.
neat. So you're both very passionate about culinary and that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
What's her most popular item that she sells?
I think these are the who and these I will not explain. I cannot explain this, but it's caramel, a flavor,
Okay.
and you have like this dough in on the bottom. Then you have caramel whipped cream, and then you have also like a vanilla pudding, I think. And then
Mm,
there is also the dough on the top, and on the top is like caramel.
wow.
I think it's also a little bit like French. There is this French way of doing it, but it's a little bit éclair, it's called. It's longer. Yeah.
Okay. Eclair.
Éclair, yeah. So something like that, but it's round.
Huh. Sounds very sweet with the caramel.
Yes, it is.
And so, Martina, what about the typical ingredients that are used? You know, whether it sounds like it would be used during lunch with those
Mhm,
stews, the dumplings. What other ingredients? We mentioned sheep's cheese find their way into a lot of different Slovakian food.
mhm. So in terms of like what you would make with the we do a lot of mushrooms. So for example, I would say, and not mushrooms like this you buy at the store, but a lot of people go and do their mushrooming in the woods.
Oh wow.
So then you would make like a beef stew with mushrooms and rice on the side,
Hmm.
or a lot of vegetables. I think we use a lot, especially in summer. So what's very popular is like leek.
Hmm.
That's you can use that a lot here. Carrots, all these. I mean, the vegetables very typical. And then sauerkraut, I said, yeah. So
Uh-huh.
that would be winter. So like typical Christmas dish is this cabbage soup, sauerkraut soup with sausage and mushrooms and these dried plums. So you
Wow.
put that in soup.
That's
And
good. And
so something like that.
is the sausage spicy or is it mild?
It's spicy, like paprika based, yeah.
Okay. And is paprika another like spice that's used in other dishes as well?
Yes, but that comes from Hungary mostly. So it's
Ah,
Hungarian based thing, but it's here a lot. And then you also use a lot of garlic, for example,
okay.
to put in your food. That's very typical.
Neat.
And
I want to go back to the mushrooms. Is that something that like most people live in close distance to the woods that they can go get their own mushrooms and do that, you know, on a weekly basis? How often?
In the season. So in the spring, you have, I think, some season, and then at the end of summer, and then like my parents go a lot. So when they know there are mushrooms in the woods, they would go, and really even every second day mostly.
Wow.
And then they cut them and dry them,
Okay.
and then you can store them for winter. So really, this is something
Is
you
it
can do with them.
more common to dry them versus use them fresh?
I think you mostly dry them,
Okay.
because you really pick up a lot of mushrooms. You cannot eat them at the same time. So that, but what you can do is make like eggs with mushrooms when they are
Ooh,
fresh. That's very something that you can do. Yeah.
yum. So do you go as well to find mushrooms?
No. This was one of the activities which I used to hate when I was a little girl. So they
Mm.
really made me do this, and then now I hate it.
What do you remember the very first time you went? What was that experience like?
You know, it's always fun when there is a good season and you come, and you can also enjoy it because you find a lot of mushrooms, and there is times where you need to pick up every leaf and check if there is anything under it. Yeah. So, and in case this is the case, it's very annoying because you have to walk a lot, like few hours, and then for a little kid this is not something
Uh-huh.
enjoyable.
That is understandable, and I can, yeah, I understand how that can be long and draining, and yeah. But if it's a good day, like you said, you come back with a lot, and you can use it all year round.
Yes, exactly. And I
So,
think this is also very because we are now coming to the season. So a lot of people have their gardens. A lot of people have fruit trees or anything like this, and it's very common that people here make a jam out of the fruit, or pickles or anything like this. You make that at home a lot. This is very typical, and you then have it throughout the year.
yeah, yeah. And we had mentioned earlier when we were talking about desserts, apricot. What other fruits are typical in Slovakia?
Apples. Now strawberries. That's the season currently, but I think everywhere. Also plums.
Mm.
But these are all the ones where it's very typical to make liquor out of it. Yeah. So
Oh,
this is another thing that's very typical. So like really strong plum apricot liquor, like 52%. I'm
wow.
speaking. So a lot of people make this not really at home. They have places where they go and make this, but they make it from their own fruits.
That's neat. And then, so is liquor, is that a typical part of the evening meal, or when is that? When
Yes. I mean, this is also very different. For my family, uh, every Sunday lunch, we will have a shot before or something like that. So like, yeah, but, and I mean, usually people like to get around and drink a lot. I think in Slovakia, it's very typical that people drink.
Okay.
Yes, we are a little bit known for that.
Oh, okay. Well, German has its beer. Is beer another popular drink in Slovakia as well?
Yeah, yeah.
What about coffee?
Yes, coffee. I think that's recently, because when I was little, I remember my grandma would make this instant coffee. So I don't know if you know that.
Mm.
It's like dried in these granules, and then you just put hot water in it. And this is what used to be very popular, I think. Now more and more people get their own espresso machines at home.
Okay.
So we also have one. I cannot imagine my life without that anymore. But coffee, like in the US, this morning coffee, which I remember, like you could drink a big cup of it,
Mm.
that I never experienced here. So
Mm.
either a small espresso or this instant coffee.
Okay.
Mhm.
Great. And Martina, I want to ask you, we talked, throughout the day, different times of the year. What is your favorite dish that is unique to Slovakia, or that part of Europe, your favorite dish to make at home?
Okay. My very favorite dish is lasagna.
Mm.
I love making lasagna and any kind of pasta. So I really enjoy Italian cuisine. So this is something I really like. And I've been experiencing with a lot of vegetarian options currently. And now I'm back to meat a little bit as well. So currently I'm in this phase of my life where meat is again something that I need almost every day.
And what for your lasagna and other pasta dishes, do you make the pasta from scratch?
Yes, mostly.
Great.
Yeah.
And then the cheese and meat, tomato sauce, those are the typical ingredients you'll use.
Yeah, like this bolognese, yeah.
Okay,
Well, mm-hmm.
great. What else? And so vegetarian. Talk to me a little bit about that and what that might look like for you, a vegetarian dish.
Okay, so mostly that would consist of pasta, I would say. So when I go for vegetarian options, it's pasta. I try to add a lot of or I really fight with adding legumes in the
Mm.
meals. So
Hmm.
like lentils, beans. This is something I struggle with a lot.
Okay.
And I try to add these sometimes instead of meat, or like make a curry, or make mm, anything that would in the past consist of meat, like meat stew. I would use something else, maybe even tofu sometimes.
Mm.
So I really like these meals where there is some sauce in it. This is
Okay.
really nice and fulfilling, I would say.
Yes. Adds the extra flavor and texture.
Yeah.
Great. And switching to the travel side of things, I'm here over in the US, you're in Slovakia. Do you have any plans to travel outside Slovakia anytime soon?
I hope so. Actually, I planned to go to the US before all these COVID things came
Mm.
to come again, because I think after my year in the US, I came like 5 more times.
Wow.
Why? Then I went for this work and travel program. So I don't know if you know this. It's a program for university students where for 3 months you can work, and then 1 month you have for traveling during
Oh,
the summer.
that's
Yeah.
great.
So I did this 3 times. And after that we always traveled some places like Miami, and went for a cruise, or went to California or something like that. And I'm still missing like this big part of California and these national parks there.
Mm.
So I would like to do a trip there, and I'm sure this would also involve a lot of food tasting.
Yes. And California is known for their wine out there, and
Yes. So we
yes.
have also good wine here in the west of Slovakia. Really good.
Do you have, thinking of the topography, are there a lot of mountains and, knowing that that's part
Mhm.
of, the process of growing grapes for wine?
Yes. Yes. We have those here. A little bit.
Great. So Martina, I learned a lot. I'm sure everyone watching and tuning in and watching later has learned a lot about your country and Slovakian food and recipes. And thank you so much for, sharing all of that with us and taking some time out of your weekend to talk to us today.
Yes. Thank you very much for inviting me. It
You're
was really
welcome. And the last thing I'd like to is just have you share where people can find you and follow along for your food content.
okay. So you can do that here on Instagram. And my nickname here would be Food Delicious with Tinka. A little bit long, but yeah, that's where you find me. So
Awesome.
I haven't been so active lately, but I promise I will come back. Just need a little bit time.
Yes, it takes a lot of effort, and in everything that you do though is very top quality and beautiful and delicious.
Thanks a lot.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. So thank you again, and we'll stay in touch. Have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you. You as well. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.